Hello everyone, Caroline here. I hope you all do well. And in today's video, I want to share 8 cards that I created with this paper rose card making kit. I purchased this kit recently, and I was intrigued by the beautiful die that comes with the set. It comes all in this pouch, and let me show you quickly what's in that kit. So you get this beautiful die, and then you get 8 card bases, and you also get 18 double-sided pattern papers in 6x6. You're also going to get this sheet which has some inspiration on it, beautiful cards. And Paper Rose is an Australian company, so I have one die from this company, and this is my second purchased that I purchased something from this company. So these are the card bases, and they are not scored, but beautiful quality. And here is the paper pad, and I will quickly open this and show you the pattern papers. So here we go. The collection is called Nature Stroll and has beautiful flowers, and this is a 200 GSM paper, and it has kind of like I think a coating of some sort on it, because it feels just very smooth and very high quality. So here you can see the papers. There's a lot of fussy cutting options in this paper. Here's this beautiful arrangement, and then you have one sheet that has sentiments and also little pictures for fussy cutting. And here you can see, and since it's, I guess it's an Australian company, it has those koala bear, little dingo puppy, and this kingfisher bird, I think is also an Australian bird. And here you have the little images in small, another beautiful paper to fussy cut, and then this beautiful wreath with the big bird on it, and this floral. So these are all the designs, and you get 3 sets, also 6 times double-sided papers. Here is that beautiful die, and that was my main reason why I purchased this kit. But I also purchased it because I just wanted to try out different company, wanted to see how the quality is. And I also purchased with this kit the other set of papers, which is called Nature Straw Basics, and this is kind of like background papers for this collection. So the colors match perfectly with the design papers that come with the collection. So they are absolutely beautiful. I love this one, and the yellow one. So it has the soft colors, very neutral, but still colorful. So I really love this set. I also purchased this die because I have this one here, and I'll use it all the time. So I thought I'm gonna give it a try and purchase the other one. And I also purchased this stencil from Paper Rose. So before I get started with my cards, I want to show you quickly how I prepare for this. So I used those card bases, and they're A5. So I will score this at 4 and an 8. And they are beautiful to score. This cardstock is just awesome. is at least a 250 GMS, and they are beautiful. I love cards that have some structure to them. And then here I'm cutting with my trimmer those little sentiments out, so I have them ready to go when I need them. Here are the strips. And I also pulled out some backgrounds from my box where I keep all my backgrounds that I create. And I will use them and cut out the die, the flower die with it. I also used some regular cardstock and I used some glitter cardstock. And here I am just cutting out all those little images. And now we can get started with card number 1. So here with card number 1, I used the card base, of course, and then I cut a piece of this background paper, and this pattern paper here, this design paper, I used the one side, a casi cut, and then I ripped the leftover and turned it over and used the back side. I also cut this die out, and I have those 2 flowers or floral dies, foliage dies that I cut in a white glitter and a gold glitter. Also choose a sentiment from that strips, and I have this congrats die, and I think that is one from Hero Arts, and I cut this out in kind of like a grayish color to match the sentiment, and then I glue this on a piece of vellum that I can later cut around. I let this dry, and now I'm taking my background here, and I'm using like a little spongy finger sponge and go around the edge, and then I'm using this stamp. This is also new for me. It's a new release from Sampour by Creative Expressions, and this is this beautiful French script stamp. I am loving this stamp. So I'm adding this to my background. And I'm also adding some white splatters from Dina Wakley Gloss Spray in white. Now I cut this piece that I ripped apart to size, and I am going around with my finger dabber here at the same color, and then I'm gluing it with liquid glue and add this to my card. And I have to tell you guys, this paper is awesome to glue with liquid glue. It doesn't bubble or anything. I don't know, I think this coating that is on there, it just helps so much to keep this straight. You have some wiggle room. I'm really impressed by the quality of this paper. So here I am attaching my background to my card base that is ready to go now. And then I use the other piece that I fussy cut out, and I go around with the same color, which is the old paper, the Strex Oxide, and then I'm using my liquid glue and add this net die on top, like right where in the middle of those 2 papers. And then I'm adding foam tape to this flower arrangement here. And then I'm figuring out where I want my flowers or my foliage to go. And I'm adding this with liquid glue, and then on top I'm adding my flower arrangement. Then I cut around with my vellum here around the sentiment. I'm using liquid glue, and I add this on top. And this vellum helps, so the sentiment doesn't get lost. So on that very busy floral arrangement, this congrats is very easy to read. And then I have this other sentiment from the kit. So proud of you, and I framed this and add some Movo drops, and that's the gold honey drops. And here's my finished card. Card number 2. So for card number 2, I went ahead and I cut out of that one of the card base. I made it a little square card, which is now 4 by 4 inches. And I also used a spellbinder's die and used 2 of the background papers and cut 2 squares with a little design in the edge. And here I'm going around with my dabber again, and this is green color, and I think it's this should be the peel paint, yeah, and then I use tea dye as well. And the tea dye is to go around those pieces that I fussy cut. Now here I'm gluing on my background, and then I'm gluing with foam tape the squares on top. Give it some dimension, and then I'm using my smaller square and set it in diagonally, and then I'm arranging my little dingo here, which is so cute, and those little florals, and glue them on with liquid glue and with foam tape. And this is very fiddly because it's very small, but I wanted to use all those little pieces, and here I did little leaves. And then I glued on the sentiment on a piece of glitter cardstock left over, and add this to the top of my card. And again, I'm using the Nuvo Drops, the honey gold, and here is my finished card. Card 3. Okay, for card 3, I'm using again one of the card bases, and I cut one of the design papers to size. I have two of the dies that I cut, two die cuts that I cut out, and I have the little sentiments here. Now, for this card, I again want to add some more texture to my background paper, and I'm using this stencil, and this is one of the Yolanda de Ronde from Studio Light stencils, and I'm using my dabber here, and I am not very precise in going through this stencil because I want this to be looking kind of grungy. Here you can see I love this effect. And then again, I'm using this beautiful stamp with the text, and I use this on top. And this will give me kind of like a really romantic, vintage looking effect. Now here I am going around the edge again, and I'm also going to bring in the distress ink in Walnut Stain, which is very dark brown, and go again around to give this really a dark edge, and this will look beautiful on the white cardstock. Here I'm attaching now my background, and you can see how nicely that looks when the edge is just darker. Now I'm attaching my florals here. This is kind of a cardstock I had in my rest paper box leftovers. It's kind of a bluish grayish colors, and this is, I think, one of my backgrounds that I cut out. It's just like a light green yellow color, and then I'm going around here with my dabber and put in some of the brown color to my birdies here. I'm going to arrange them with foam tape right into the twigs and also the flowers, and I'm going to sit him like he sits in the tree, and also some the last little flowers on top. I really love how you can still see this stencil in the background. Now I decided to give this more sparkle, so I'm using my gold watercolor and a very fine brush and just sprinkle this on the side, and this will give it a nice shine when it's dry. I'm also adding a little bit of the Dina Wakley white gloss splatters, and I'm adding my sentiments on this glitter paper, which is kind of like an antique looking gold color. And I'm adding my sentiments with some foam tape right there in between those two birds. And now, of course, I'm using my noodle drops. Here is my finished card. Card 4. Okay, for card number 4, again a white card base, and then I'll have this green background paper that I use, and I cut out those 2 circles, which is from a die from my stash, and I think it's from In Love Art, and I'm using that die all the time. Here is the Yolanda de Ronde stamp set that I recently purchased with a stencil. One of this set has this beautiful lace, antique looking lace stamp, and I will add a little bit more texture, layering texture to the background. I'm using those 2 greens, lighter and darker, and I'm just randomly add this to my stamp and then press it onto the background. So I want to just get a kind of a grungy look here. Then I'm of course adding my text again, and I'm using the darker brown, this walnut stain. And then I'm going around the edge again, and I'm adding a few more splatters. And then I'm using this paper that has those little animals on it, and I rip it a stripe and glue it right into the middle. And then I'm also adding some brown to the sides, and then I'm adding this to my background here. And then I'm using this die again, die cut. For more layer texture, I'm adding this right on top. And then I'm using this floral here, and this bottom to the top. And then I'm going around those circles with my walnut stain here and give it some shading. And add those with foam tape to the top of my card here. And then I have this little cute little koala bear, and add this with the leftovers, with literally all my little pieces left from those fussy cutting. And I'm choosing a little sentiment, and I decided to go with happy birthday, and I'm glue this on to a piece of gold foiled cardstock. And then I've decided, I want more leaves, because I think this koala just needed more foliage around it. And I just added some more. And also some noodle drops here and there. And this is my finished card. Card 5. Now for this card, I decided to go with one of my card bases that I have in my stash, because I want this floral piece that I cut out. I wanted it to be, I didn't want it to cut it up, so I decided to just use a square card. Now I also cut out this word joy, and that's from Hero Arts, a die. And here is this design paper, this dark blue with the flowers, and I'm going ahead and I rough up the edge. and attach this with liquid glue. And then I'm using this piece of glitter cardstock that I cut a little bit smaller. So about half an inch smaller than the background. And then even smaller, I cut out this background here, and I will add again this stencil and using my old paper. Actually, this is the old paper, and the blue one, the light blue one, is the weathered wood color. So that's mainly the colors I'm using: peel paint, old paper, and weathered wood, and also the tea dye and walnut stain. So those are all the distress inks and the Stax Oxide inks. So you see again, I'm adding the script, which gives this paper again this romantic, antiquish looking or vintage looking touch. Now I'm going around the edge, and then I'm adding my floral piece on top, and again I'm matching the edge here. And first I'm adding my background, and I add this with foam tape so it lifts up a little bit. And then with another layer of foam tape, I'm adding those flowers and then those two pieces die cuts. So first I'm arrange them how I want them, and then I'll be carefully adding this in place that will hold the flowers, and then I'm using my liquid glue and add the floral pieces to the back. Now here is my sentiment, and I want this to sit right between those leaves, and I'm adding this with liquid glue, and then I'm adding my little dot, and I am showing you here how I usually cut my little sentiments when they come on a strip like this. I'm going using my little trimmer here, and I'll use the finger guide as my cutting guide. That gives me this kind of like an 1/8 of an inch border around my sentiments. And here I'm adding my overdrops, and this is my finished card. Very sparkly. Card 6. So for this card, I'm using again one of the card bases. This time I'm using this blue background, and I cut out this beautiful wreath, and also on the other, from the other paper, I cut out just the bird. I have those two florals, and I have also a sentiment, which is a Sonic Tulio sentiment. I'm using just this white paint Cloud 9 from Paper Artsy, and I am kind of like an off-white color, and I'm using like a little spongy tool here, and I'm adding using this stencil here, and I'm adding this white kind of like in a gradient. You can see this here, and then I am using my VersaFine in brown. And again, here's one of the Yolanda stamp sets, and I'm using those music sheets, this music sheet stamp. Now I'm attaching hold my piece in place, and I'm just with an acrylic block go around and add this stamp. Now I'm going around, and I want to get this really kind of brownish on the side, and then I'm adding with another stamp from the stamp set, white ink, just a few more white texture. And then I'm adding this to my card base here. And then I'm using this weave with the bird, and I'm adding it with liquid glue and place it. And then I'm cutting off, I'm securing this on the side again with glue, and then I'm cutting away the facet here, and then adding also the florals, and use the other bird that I fussy cut, go around with my dauber here and adding that with foam tape on top of the other one. Then I'm adding some Nufu Dream. These are the Dream Drops in Cloud 9. They have this iridescent sheen to them. And then I'm attaching my sentiment, and I decided to go with a rose gold here instead of a gold that I cut out first. And here's my finished card. Card 7. Okay, card 7. Here I have this design paper that I use as my background, and I'm bringing in this border die set from Tonic Studio. This was a designer's choice, and I cut top on the bottom a lacy edge into that design paper, and I'm using this die set from Studio Light filled with love, and I'm using this, cut out this love word. And then I'm adding another layer of gold on top of the already little dotted background to give it more shine and sparkle. And then I'm using my tea dye here, Distress Oxide, and go around this lace piece. And then I'm going around with my green here and add this to the edge, and I'm also adding the walnut stain, and you can see how nicely this gold shines on that background. Now I'm adding this piece to my card base, and then I'm adding my foliage pieces here, and this is cut out with some of the backgrounds that I created. And here I'm adding now this lacy piece on top with foam tape to give it some dimension, and I love how you can see the foliage through it. And then I'm adding my love sentiments and the little sentiment, you amaze me, right below it. And this time around I'm using the Dream Drops in Lemon Twist. This is kind of like a yellow iridescent color. And here is my finished card. Card 8. So for my last card, I decided to use some of the leftover pieces that I cut and create a background with that. And I also have this background that I am now adding a dark edge to, and I'm also etching those pieces which I will arrange on top of it. Just going ahead and try to lay how I want them to lay this. And then I'm etching all the pieces here, inking up all the pieces, and I'm using also a piece of that glitter. And then I'm arranging this and glue this to my mat here. And I'm taking out that glitter piece And I'm bringing in a stencil again. And now I'm just using those Nouveau Dream Drops. And I'm just smearing this through my stencil. This will give this very iridescent sheen to it. And here you can see this, and I let that dry. I'm using the same stencil and add this to my background. And truly said, I didn't need to do any of this for this background. I just wanted to try out that stencil, and it was more for practice purposes because I will cover this background up with the other pieces. Now here I cut out this Hello, and I don't remember from what collection that is. And I'm adding this little sentiment on another scrap piece here. And when my pieces are dry, it will take a little bit. I will add my background. And then I'm adding those pieces on top. And here you can see how I'm literally covering up this beautiful background, but that's okay. My last piece is not exactly cut, or I didn't have enough on the side, but I thought I'm just going to cover this up a little bit with my flowers here. I'm just bringing this up so it's not so obvious. Yeah, sometimes you have to trick a little bit. And then I'm adding the other piece on the bottom. And then my sentiment, I put that with foam tape right in the middle. And then I'm using again my Nouveau drops here and add a few drops. And here you can see this sheen from those Nouveau Dream Drops. And this is my finished card. Okay, my friends, so here are all the cards again in order. And I hope you enjoyed this video, you got some inspiration, and now feel the urge to go and craft yourself. And now this is a beautiful collection. If you have the chance to pick it up, I recommend it. I know this is not available everywhere, but you can also order directly from Paper Rose. I checked that out because I will probably do that next time. The shipping cost here to international is, I think, around $12 or so. So it's not too bad. Now, if you have questions, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to answer that. If you see something and I forgot to mention it, or if you just have question in general. So here is the love card. If you want to see more of my cards, you can find me also on Instagram. I have this here running through, and I hope I see you in my next video. And until then, stay well. Bye.